Good morning, everyone. As I said, my name is Paola. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships at Foldscope, and I am really excited to be hosting these Foldscope Live workshops. It actually got started a few months ago by another fellow team member, Christine, with the idea of just creating an activity to gather the Foldscope community throughout these weird times, right, of COVID, and also to use it as an opportunity to share the knowledge each one of the users has been acquiring throughout months, years, or how long they've been using Foldscope. And today I am really excited to introduce Dr. Azul. I know some of the ones who are on the call already know her pretty well. She graduated from Universidad Nacional de Córdoba in Argentina, where she received her medical degree. And after moving to the US, Azul started the process of getting her medical license. And as I was in the process of applying for residencies, she became a mom, which is a beautiful thing. And she decided to pause her medical career and find something else where she could still apply and use her knowledge and love for science while working with children. So that's how she decided to teach science because that was a perfect fit. Currently, Dr. Azul Serrano Purcell works in Ector County ISD in Odessa, Texas, and today she will be talking about sharing her experience in teaching seventh graders and how she's been able to adapt Foldscope into the curricula. So Azul, thank you so much for accepting the invitation, and welcome to Foldscope Live workshops, and I'll just now hand on the microphone to you.
All right, well, hello everybody, thank you for joining us, and I'm going to go ahead and start presenting. So well, I had a little background as well, but Paola, you went ahead and I am from Argentina. I'm original from Justo Arac, San Luis. That's my hometown. I did get my certification for teaching here in Odessa, Texas, at the University of the Permian Basin. And this is my second year teaching 7th grade at Nimitz Middle School here in Odessa. So about the Foldscope, the first time I heard about it was this spring. My friend Jet Casas, she's from the department of the innovation department. And she told me about, this cool microscope that you could build yourself, and it's made of paper. And she started telling me all this about it. And I'm like, well, sounds interesting. And she's like, well, do you think your students will be interested? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. So we were already remote. We already were, the pandemic had started already. So she said, well, I have some Foldscopes that we can share with the students. And we had a couple of kids that came by the school and picked up this Foldscope, and they were so excited. They decided, you know what, this is really cool. And so they built it. They would share pictures with me of the things that they found in their homes. And I built three, one for me, one for my kids as well. And we started looking around our house. We went outside. We would look at leaves. We would look at dogs' hair. And eventually, when school started, my coworkers and I were talking about how we could make our lessons more fun. And I reminded myself, I was like, oh, we had the Foldscope. So we contacted our science department director, and I asked her if we could, get a Foldscope for our 7th graders. And she was like, sure. So we were very, very fortunate to get a Foldscope for every single one of our students. So the point was like, well, why were we going to use our Foldscope? What's the point? What are the benefits? And one thing that we like to do at the beginning of the year is part of getting to know our students is how is the best way for them to learn. If we know how they learn, what's better for them, then we can, adjust our lessons to that. And we created a poll to see what kind of learners they are. And as you see on the graphic, 85 of 182 students in my class, they are visual learners. That's almost half of my students are visual learners. And the ones that decided that the ones that are more than one type, they are visual and verbal. So they need to see, they, looking at things is the way that they remember, they understand concepts. Now, we thought that, using our Foldscope, we will have a couple of things. First of hands-on learning experience. I am a huge believer that, doing things like, being hands-on, there's nothing, you can't compare anything to that. Like learning by doing, for me, is the best. Also, it's very engaging, the fact that they get to see and, they're so curious, And of course, I love microscopy. I always loved, looking at bacteria and any organism and even non-living things. I always thought it was amazing. And I thought for the kids, like not just like they're looking at the whole process, like understanding, sometimes when we were talking about cells at the beginning of the year, many of the students don't realize how small things can be and, still have a structure. They don't realize that a cell has so many things inside. And, they're like, do we have cells in the eyes? Do we have cells in all this? Yes, you have cells everywhere. And showing them the cells on a leaf, that kind of like, they made them, it clicked on them, how small it is. And of course, have fun learning, which I guess it should be the first bullet in this case, because they have fun. And when they have fun, their whole attitude changes. They're more open-minded. They're like, driving for more. They want to see more. Like, what else can we do? So we got started, and not everything goes smooth, especially when you have a bunch of 7th graders. One thing to my fellow teachers who are considering using the Foldscopes on the classroom is like assemble a couple yourself. The first time I made my Foldscope, I made a lot of mistakes, and the second and the third time I kept making mistakes. Even the same mistakes. There are videos on YouTube that are great, and there's instructions on our with the concept with the Foldscope. But I think that showing the kids how to make it, like if you do it yourself, like I use my camera and I project it on my classroom, and same thing with the kids that are home. I do step by step. The kids get really frustrated, they're, I don't know about other students, but I know my 7th graders, they're not very patient. They want to get it done, and they want to get it done in 5 minutes. So they get, like I said on the bullet, they get too excited. They want to get it done. So we need to tell them, slow down, take your time. Let's do one step at a time. So, I had some kids that their moms told me, they build a Foldscope on their way back home. And I'm like, that's amazing. But sometimes, when you rush, you can make some mistakes. So I always tell the kids, take your time. Another thing for teachers, if you haven't have your kids build it in the classroom, of course everybody does that. All teachers check for the kids understanding, but check for correct assembling. I've seen kids making the same mistakes, getting instead of adjusting the lens, instead of putting the lens on the Foldscope, they will do a coupler, or they will fold the different parts of it on the wrong side. And I tell you, like one little mistake folding the wrong side, it won't work, So I tell them, everybody, show me, and we try it, and then move on to creating slides and looking at our samples. If you have remote students, I think that having videos help a lot, like either videos of yourself building it, or the ones that are from the Foldscope website. They're great, but I think at least my students, it was better for me to show them pictures of each step, kind of like that you see on the instructions. But if they see you, if they see what you're doing on pictures, step by step, I think it's for them it's easier to kind of follow through. I have a picture that here is a picture of one of my students showing me what he's doing so far. And like this is a picture when he got up, but the first time he put his coupler, he put it on the wrong side. And that already, you know, it's a silly mistake, but it's already not gonna have the right, he's not gonna have his foldscope built correctly. Okay, when gathering samples, we went outside a couple of times. We started in a classroom, but we had in a classroom. The first time we got finished building a foldscope, the kids had finished their breakfast. So some of them got the peel from an apple peel. They were looking at the lint, they were looking at hair. So, and one thing that the kids will do, they're gonna get whatever they find on the ground and they wanna look at it. And they're not thinking about the thickness. So something that to tell your kids is like, make sure that it's not too thick. Whatever you wanna look at, you need to have, the light needs to go through. So that's something to remind them, you know, no get something too big. Looking for, you don't have to be just looking for organisms. It could be non-living things. You can look at, you know, crystals. In fact, some kids look at sugar. I had sugar from my coffee in my classroom, and they were like, "Can we look at the sugar?" And I was like, "Sure." And just encourage them to be curious, you know, to look around, like lift a rock, go all over the place. A couple of days ago, we went to our yard, and one of my kids found a feather. There were some geese there, and they were like, "Oh, feather is a great example." Unfortunately, my student forgot to share his picture with me, so I can't share it with you right now. But it was really good, really awesome image of a feather. And now, when you have your sample and you're ready to look at it, we have there some tutorials about how to adjust the focus. And that's something that the kids, I noticed, they think, "Oh, my focus doesn't work. Mine is not, it doesn't work." And they give up. A lot of kids give up quite easy. And so I tell them, like, you know, your focus works just fine. You just need to adjust the focus. So that's something that they need to practice their patience with. Using the LED light that comes with the Foldscope, that's a great resource or neutral light. And another thing, I have a picture there of one of my students. She's very organized, and I like that what she used, and that's one of the bullets I put, that take notes of the focus you use when you be in different samples. The focus is gonna change depending if you're looking at a leaf, or if you're looking at an insect, or if you're looking at crystals. So, and you might forget where was it, right? So, this student right here, she wrote, like, for example, for a dry leaf, low light, adjusted 21. For frog skin, her focus was at 25. So it's gonna change. And I tell the kids, you know, there's a little cheat sheet. So whenever you want to go back and look at the same samples that you got there, you know where to put your focus, okay? And then they shared that. In this class, another student was trying to look at a similar sample, and they could not get the image. She shared, like, and that helped. Okay, so this has some of our discoveries that we did in our classroom. We do have roaches. These are the kids call our classroom pets. My wonderful friends from the admission department asked me if I could babysit them, and I was like, sure, why not? So we have roaches in our classroom that we're going to be doing other labs with. But meanwhile, we like to, look at them. So this here is one of the roaches' wings. This image was taken with one of our students. They are, our roaches are constantly molting. So we always have some leaves, and sometimes even you can find some, the whole exoskeleton there and look at it. The kids have been looking at their wings, at the legs, at the antennas. It was a lot of fun, and they're shocked. It's really cool because they're like, oh my, I can't see anything, and then all of a sudden they're like, whoa, and this is one of those students that thought that their Foldscope wasn't working, and then got this image. So that was a wonderful moment as a as a teacher to see your students go, whoa, this is so cool, in your classroom. Okay, here we have ant legs. They did have ants all over my room. Well, not all over the room, but they have ants in their desk. And this one of my students, she got that cool image of an ant leg. She's really proud of it, and she's showing me. Okay, we have some flower petals. All these images are shared by my students. I'm not sure what the first two, the last one. I know that the one in the middle is a dandelion. All these petals from our schoolyard. Some leaves. These are the green ones were fresh leaves that the kids found in the yard. And this brown one was one of the dried leaves, which I thought is a good time of the year to be picking up samples because we have all these beautiful different colors in the leaves. Well, I'm in Texas, so we don't have that much variety, but if you're in the different part of the world where you have a better, foliage, you might get better, prettier pictures than we did, but I still think they're really cool. Okay, and this is one of our favorite things that we did with our Foldscope. So we finished our body systems unit, and we did a dissection of a frog or frogs, and they collected skin samples. So here we have a student, he's starting here in the first one, and we got a lot of different samples. We also collected some eggs from the frogs, but we couldn't find the right we couldn't find the right way to look at them. And it was like, it didn't smell good. What you don't see in this picture is the smell. But they all collected some different parts of the frog to look at. And here we go. So this is just the frog skin right here on the right. And this one is one of the students' favorite images that we got. You see the cells on the background, the skin, and then some capillaries. And this was so cool because for the whole time that we were studying the circulatory system, they could not get the idea of capillaries being so small. They understood, the difference between arteries and veins, but they could not wrap their heads about how small a capillary is. And looking at the sample on the frog skin, and then looking at the image of the microscopic image, that was like, oh, whoa, it's that small, and we can look at it. So that was a really good an awesome tool for them to see, how small they are, how small capillaries are. So this was a lot of fun. So we have a coming lessons that we are going to be using our Foldscope. We are starting our plant systems unit after Thanksgiving, and we're going to be doing a celery lab. The celery lab is the one that we use to look at the xylem and the phloem. We put celery in different containers with different coloring, and then create the little slide and then identify the different parts. And that's one of the plans we have. After that, we have, we're gonna start our genetics unit. We do a strawberry DNA extraction. And so whenever you create that DNA, you combine, you squish the strawberry, you combine it with soap and alcohol, and then you have that solution, you have it divided in different layers. So the plan is to look at those different layers. We haven't tried many liquid samples yet. I think it's better if we wait for the kids to be really good at looking at their dry samples first. And once we know that they're able to use it correctly, get the right samples, be able to use the pen and focus. Once they're really good at that, then move into liquid samples like the strawberry DNA layers, not DNA, the layers. After that, we're gonna have our unit on animal and plant adaptations. And on this one, we're gonna be looking at the different insect structures. Of course, we're gonna start with our pets because our favorite, or at least my students love them. We're gonna look at the legs, we're gonna look at the antennas. We're gonna also be looking at plants. I think that the Venus flytrap, it will be a super fun sample to look at. And after that, lastly, we're gonna have unit on ecosystem. And the idea is to create their own little micro ecosystems, put some rocks, see if we can grow some mold, maybe some water, have it, put in different parts, have one in the classroom, maybe have some outside, and see what kind of microsystems we can create, and then investigate what we have grown in those little micro ecosystems. Like I said, we need to get them ready to use their dry samples before we move into liquid samples. Okay, and this doesn't to do much with 7th grade, but I wanted to show this. This little girl, she is from Argentina. She's posing there with her Foldscope, and that's my best friend. We've been friends since we were 4 years old. I'm 40 now, so it's been a while. And when I started talking about this, I was talking about how this is so important for visual learners. And this girl, Shayla, she has a hearing impairment. So for her, visuals are key. She does have a cochlear implant and uses sign language to communicate with her teachers and family. And she cannot, it's not hard, not easy for her to hear, but she can, her eyes, that's how she learns. And she's making amazing discoveries with her Foldscope. And I just wanted to share, like, not only because how we can reach so many kids all over the world. In this case, a little girl from my province, from San Luis, Argentina. And I don't know, I just thought it was a really good way to finish my little workshop today. And I just wanted to thank you all for listening and for your attention. And I'm here for any questions or any comments. And thank you so much, Mr. Osborne, for introducing me to Foldscope and to the innovation department. I don't know what I would do without you guys.
Thank you so much, Azul, for walking us through what you've been doing with your students this year, and it's great. And actually, everyone, all the teachers from Hector County ISD in Odessa, Texas have been doing an amazing job. And Jason wrote this down, and it's so true. I want to make sure, read it out loud. Just so actually, Hector County ISD in Odessa, Texas has distributed around 6,000 Foldscopes district-wide. And that's the largest amount of Foldscopes we've ever distributed in a school district. So yeah, that's a huge achievement, and that's great, Azul. Yeah, so now time for questions. So I know someone wrote it down. Someone wrote down, I think, a few questions already, but if you just want to go ahead and ask Azul, please just unmute yourself.
So I had one for you. So, and thank you for the great comments. We also have Caitlin Couch on here. So she oversees science in our district, and together we are really trying to see the best ways of engaging students as well as teachers in the learning process, and to allow opportunities for them to do hands-on discovery, to grow together. So that kind of ties into my question that I had for Azul, and that is, how has this Foldscope experience shaped you as a teacher and your relationship with your students?
Well, one thing that I really like is like, they saw me building the first, the first ones, and they saw how much I struggle. So I was like, well, guys, you're gonna struggle too, right now I can build a Foldscope pretty quick, but for them to show that I'm human, that I make mistakes, and I can also get frustrated, and I think it made us get closer, and like we are in a team, we're doing this together. I am trying to learn as much as I can to show them, but just show them that that we're all humans, and that we're a team. And I'm on their side, But yeah, it's been great. And going outside and explore, and the kids is like, I feel like a scientist, and I'm like, you are a scientist, that was really, really cool to hear them.
It's been pretty amazing watching you grow with this opportunity, and just seeing what you come up with next. Those of you that are listening, if you're not following her on Twitter, she's constantly posting, images from her class, and it's just amazing that a little paper microscope can show that clarity and definition, and it really does, show the world through a different lens. And that means so many different things. And I think it's super important too. And thank you for doing this with your students. And that is, students slowing down and looking at the fine details. And we need to be better as administrations across districts, worldwide, in creating those opportunities where students have an opportunity to really focus and really look at, whether it's nature or just even in their lives, slow down a little bit and really look at things differently and be creative. And that, it takes a huge team and a lot of effort to do that, with the way, especially with COVID, trying to redefine and restructure the way that we share learning and teaching and instruction. It opens up lots of opportunities. It can be very stressful at times, and it takes it on both sides. It takes administration to support a teacher like Azul, but it also takes a teacher like Azul to really think outside the box and really create opportunities for kids, because ultimately we're in this business for kids. So I thank you for that. I thank Stanford. I thank Paola, and I thank the Foldscope team for taking effort to give us so much attention to really define what learning looks like using Foldscope. So it's been an amazing experience, and it will not go away. We're here for the long haul, so we're excited, and we thank you for all your support.
Thank you, Jason, and yeah, thank you, Azul, for sharing your experience. I was curious about if you could talk more about maybe meetings or you've had with other teachers, or what's the connection there, because I know other teachers are also using their Foldscopes with the students. So how's the teacher-to-teacher relationship like? Do you
yeah, I know that in my case, on my team, I'm not sure what would they been doing up to. I mean, we use our Foldscope, and that's another thing I like to use. I'm not sure how they use it. I mean, we do follow the same curriculum, which is adjusted, we personalize it a little bit. So for example, I have a lot of kids that finish their work real quick. Like, you give them an assignment and they finish right away. So I'm like, all right, get your Foldscope and, go explore around the room. And so that's how I like to use it sometimes if we don't have something, already planned. We've been talking about the upcoming lessons, and we're gonna, the ones I was sharing with you about the plans and the adaptations. So we're planning our lessons based on that. I think I got a little bit ahead of I've been so excited about the Foldscope, and I'm a little obsessed. I can say it, compared with my peers. But I'm trying to get them excited as much as I am.
Oh, I have a question. How can
Yeah.
I use that in 8th grade?
I'm not super familiar with the curriculum on 8th grade, but
I just want to use it, even though we don't. It probably doesn't match.
I mean, I think you can use it with anything. You can look at anything. I mean, I will get some maybe samples of different elements if there are elements available, and just see how they look.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe create, if you practice first with dry samples and then have different solutions, you can create different solutions and look at that. Like I said, the kids in my classroom, they look at salt, and they looked at sugar, stuff like the sticky stuff, like juice, like the juice from their breakfast. I mean, I don't think you can, I mean, not only living organisms are, you can look at anything you want. You can just be as creative as you want. So yeah, I would totally implement it in 8th grade too. And it's something you can do, with those kids that finish, like I said, those kids that finish their work early and they just sit there doing nothing. Well, you can on Foldscope and have them investigate and do little drawings of their findings, and
Yeah, I like that. I like seeing all the pictures you have and everything.
Thank you.
Ms. Carter, as the science curriculum and instruction team, we did create a couple of labs per grade level, per content area for Foldscopes. And so I can send you the link for 8th grade. The two labs that we have created for 8th grade are really chemistry oriented. We have been kind of going back and forth on how to really apply it to the physics portion of 8th grade. So we're still thinking on that one. And so there's more to come.
Okay. I'll look forward to it.
Perfect.
Anyone else has any questions for Azul or comments?
I just really like that, using Foldscopes, I think it's really taken away that pressure as a teacher and in the eyes of the student to use, the traditional microscopes in a lab are kind of scary, right? Because we know that they're super expensive. And if I break them or drop them or something, then my family may have to pay for them or something. There's going to be some consequences. And so I think it really takes that pressure, puts it out of their minds, and it really allows them to focus on the discovery and the exploration of science. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And also the fact that, like we had to be so cautious with sharing material nowadays because of COVID. So the fact that they all have their own, and they don't have to be sharing things, they all have their own samples. We don't have to be worrying about disinfecting, extra disinfecting. So I like that a lot. I think that it's a perfect tool for COVID times, not having to share materials. And yes, like you said, Ms. Couch, no worrying about breaking a big microscope, a traditional microscope. That's,
Yeah, that's so true. And thank you, Caitlin and Azul, for mentioning that. I myself have, I remember once I broke my Foldscope, little corner, but that's a great thing. I just use tape, like regular tape, and just, fix that, and it's still working fine. So it does happen, and it's easy to fix. So that's great. yeah, Hector County ISD has created a bunch of like really amazing lessons. And one thing I wanted to ask you, Azul, is if you could share what has been for you the most rewarding thing about, doing this, using Foldscope to teach your students. I mean, not only science, because I'm sure maybe did other topics ever come up, and what's been the most rewarding thing for you as an educator?
Probably having those kids that never care about anything, that don't do the work, being so into it, like building the foldscopes, and going, whoa, like engaging those kids that I thought I was never going to be able to engage with them, having their attention, having their interest in science, and asking questions, and like showing that they were excited about it. That was like, I finally got them, I finally won them over. That was really good, because I have my, you know how it is, you have students that are always, whatever you show them, they're like excited and eager to learn. But getting those hard kids, that was really amazing. And now that you mentioned about breaking your foldscope, it makes me think about it. I carry, when we're working with our foldscopes, I carry my tape in my pocket, because we have a lot of broken foldscopes that they start building and bending, and they get so worried. They're like, oh, I broke it, I ruined it. And I'm like, no, it's okay, we'll just tape it. So I love that too. We'll just tape it and it's all good. Oh.
Yeah, no, that's a great thing. And someone was asking earlier, where can they get a Foldscope? And if you just go to our website, www.foldscope.com, there's a link that says shop. So you can just purchase that. Jason had a question. Jason, do you want to ask it yourself? I can also read it out loud.
Yes, I was curious. We're very interested in like cross-curricular and how we can tie in other core subject areas. So are kids writing about their discoveries and sharing out and journaling anything that they're doing with Foldscope?
They've been sharing their pictures. They've been emailing me pictures. I created an assignment where they can share the pictures in there. It's kind of like an album that we're sharing. We haven't written much about it because they're so busy with their pictures and sharing their pictures that we haven't written much about it. But it's something that to consider, to have them, maybe those. I know that one of my students, she was doing sketches of her findings.
Oh, that's fascinating. That would be really cool. Are they loading it up into the, forgive me, is it Microcosmos, I guess it is, or up in the blog?
I don't think they have done that, but I'm gonna be working with them into creating their accounts.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet.
So, sorry. So Azul, this is Kristen. Great job. This is just so exciting to hear this. And I especially loved your comment about reaching those hard to reach students. I was wondering, have you had any feedback from parents, maybe especially parents of kiddos that are remote learners? Are they getting involved with the Foldscopes? Have you gotten any feedback from how maybe this is a family thing, or are the kids, using it at home with their siblings or their parents? I just wondered if you had any feedback in that area.
Yes. In fact, I do. When we first, I had some kids that they were like, "This is so hard to build," but my dad and I building it together. So I have a lot of kids that work with their parents, and recently I had a student that, in fact, it was this week, and he was telling me like his grandma asked me if she could borrow his photos because she wanted to look at things. And I'm like, your grandma? And she's like, yeah, she's into science and she wanted to see if she could borrow my photos. I was like, well, that's great. I love that. So yeah, they do share with their families. They're very excited, and they share the excitement with their families, and for parents it's really cool too. It's just not just for the students. So yeah.
That's cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Kristen, I'm so happy you asked that question, because that's another thing, we at Foldscope are really always like, like we always emphasize that this is not only a tool for children, but for everyone, regardless of age. And it's funny sometimes in workshops, right? Before COVID, when we would have in-person workshops, and you have the kids and the parents or, caretakers. And sometimes it's the adults who are more excited. They're like taking the Foldscope away from their kids and just be like, let me look at it. And then students just like, hey, give me back my Foldscope. So it's just really nice to hear that from you. So yeah, I mean, what other questions or comments do you have for Azul? And Azul, actually, before I forget, I wanted to ask you, so you talk about Argentina, you are from Argentina, and I was going to ask you if you still have some sort of connection with schools there, especially the ones, we had some workshops there in San Luis. So are you still connected to them somehow?
Well, I was one of my teachers from high school. He was my organic chemistry teacher, and we were planning on having a talk together on. I was supposed to go to Argentina in last June, and COVID didn't let me. But we were supposed to have a little talk about, in fact, I was gonna take. Well, back in June, I wasn't very familiar with Foldscope, but I was gonna do a talk on neuroscience, also one of the programs that we have with our Department of Innovation Department. So yeah, I still have contact with my high school.
That's amazing. Yeah. Any other questions for Azul? Azul, this has been great, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else has any more comments or questions. If you do, just yeah, Jason says fantastic job. Just feel free to say now. But yeah, I wanted to thank you so much, Azul, for walking us through what you've been doing with your students. Those pictures were amazing. The frog ones, especially the capillaries and all that. And also you talking about what it is like to be an educator, a teacher now, and COVID's being hard for everyone on so many different levels. And education has had to, just adapt in a very fast and drastic way to the needs. So yeah, I'm excited to, as Eric is saying, to continue learning about what your students find. And is there anything else you would like to say before we end this workshop?
I would just like to thank you for inviting me, and Mr. Osborne, again, thank you so much for always supporting me. I have an awesome team of, Ms. Couch, Mr. Osborne. Just thank you. I wouldn't be here without them. So thank you so much. And I'm loving this with my students are loving it. So it's a lot of fun.
No, this is great. Yeah. And I know, Christine, Caitlin, Jason, and everyone else from the
yeah. Yeah.
An amazing job. And yeah, so thank you everyone for joining. As I mentioned, we've recorded these and we will be uploading it to YouTube. If you want to watch it again later, share it with other people, or know people who wanted to watch it but for whatever reason couldn't join. If you have any questions about Foldscope, please visit us on our website, follow us on social media. If you want to learn more about Azul's work, I know Jason mentioned earlier your Twitter account. Azul, do you want to, if people want to ask you questions, how can they find you?
Yes, I'm on Twitter. You can, I think it's just Azul SB or Azul Purcell. I think that's my my username. And yes, I'm constantly posting, sharing the work from my students, everything we do in class. I like to show them off. I'm pretty proud of them, so I like sharing whatever we do in class. So yeah.
Yeah, and I know, just follow her on Twitter and also Foldscope on social media. It's the handle is Team Foldscope on Twitter and Instagram, and just Foldscope on Facebook. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today, Saturday morning, or I mean, I know Mohammed's also here, for example. I know it's probably like later afternoon or evening where he's at, from Iraq. But yeah, thank you everyone. And it's been a pleasure to see you all today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Azul. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.